You know that feeling when you've been studying something for months, maybe even years?
Yeah.
You feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the textbooks, you've done all the grammar exercises, and you're feeling pretty good about your skills.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, I'm ready.
I've got this phase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you try to apply it, in the real world. You step out, or maybe you just turn on the TV, and
Yeah.
it just feels like you've hit a brick wall at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, absolutely. It is the classic theory versus practice gap. It happens in everything, learning to cook, learning an instrument. But I think it hits hardest and maybe most painfully with language learning.
It really, really does. And that is the exact scenario we are digging into today. We're looking at that moment that's described so perfectly in our source material,
Yeah.
where you can read a book in a second language, let's say English perfectly. You get every word. The sentence structure, it all makes sense. But then you turn on a modern action movie.
And suddenly you are just completely lost.
You have no idea what is going on. To quote one of the creators from our source today, Mason, you find yourself watching a scene and you have, quote, no idea if the hero was saving the world or just looking for his car keys.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it? And it captures that frustration just so well. You know the grammar, you know the words on paper, but the audio just doesn't compute. It feels like a betrayal of all that study time.
It does. You feel cheated. And that is what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into a breakdown called Cracking the Code, Mastering Natural English Movie Dialogue.
Right.
And this comes from the team at Fluent English Power, and we're specifically looking at the insights from their creators, Luna and Mason.
And what I think makes this deep dive so valuable is that it doesn't just, identify the problem. We all know the problem.
We've all been there.
Yeah, that feeling that Hollywood English is some kind of secret language.
Yeah.
What Luna and Mason do is they break down why it sounds that way linguistically and technically, and then, and this is the crucial part, they give us a strategy to fix it.
They call it the power plan, which sounds pretty intense, but as we'll see, it's actually really practical.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to bridge that gap, the gap between textbook English and the natural English that actually comes out of actors' mouths. We're going to figure out why, as Mason puts it, actors sound like they have a mouthful of marbles.
And how we can actually tune our ears to hear them. It's a fascinating topic because it touches on, well, linguistics, psychology, and even audio engineering. There's a lot more going on here than just people speaking too fast.
So let's start with the big one, the core disconnect. Why does an English teacher sound one way, super clear, articulate, and a movie star sounds like a completely different species? Are they just trying to be cool?
Hey, it's not just trying to be cool, no. It really comes down to the function of speech in those two settings. Think about a teacher.
Okay.
A teacher's goal is clarity. They are enunciating very specifically, so you understand the rules. But in a movie, the goal is emotion. It's realism. Actors use what Luna calls natural connected speech.
Natural connected speech.
Okay, so help us understand the mechanics of that. I mean, this isn't just them being lazy speakers.
Oh, not at all. No.
Yeah.
In fact, if you spoke like a textbook in, say, a casual setting,
Right.
people would think you were a robot or just weirdly formal. Natural connected speech is actually highly efficient. And in linguistics, they talk about this with two main concepts, linking and reduction.
Linking and reduction. Let's break those down.
Right. So linking is when the end of one word flows directly into the start of the next. There's no pause.
No gap.
No gap. And reduction is when we drop sounds entirely to speak faster. And the source material uses this really great term for what happens. They say the words get smushed together.
Smooshed. I can get behind that. That feels very accurate to the listener's experience.
It is. Luna describes it as the words melting into one giant puddle of sound.
That is exactly what it sounds like when you're a learner. It's just a puddle. You're looking for distinct bricks, subject, verb, object, and all you get is soup. And that's where the brain just gets confused. Because your brain is trained to look for the boundaries between words. It expects a gap, even a microsecond gap. When that isn't there, the processing lags.
Okay, let's look at the example they give, because I think this really nails it.
Yeah, the what are you doing one.
Yes.
Exactly. So take that phrase, what are you doing? A teacher explaining it on a whiteboard, it sounds like distinct blocks. What are you doing?
Very staccato. You can hear the T and what the R is the full word.
But in a movie, in a real conversation, no one says that. It becomes, what you doing?
It's what you're doing. It's barely even the same sound.
Precisely. The T and the Y link together to make that she sound that's linking,
Yeah.
the R almost disappears. That's reduction. And the G at the end of doing gets dropped.
So if you are a listener and you are waiting to hear the letters W-A-T,
You're going to miss it.
you're going to miss the entire sentence.
And that's the danger, right? As Luna points out, if you wait for every single letter, you will, quote, get lost in the shuffle. You're buffering. You're analyzing the first word while the actor is already 3 sentences ahead.
It's like trying to catch a train that left 5 minutes ago. You're left on the platform holding your dictionary.
Exactly.
So, okay, the first step is realizing the smush is a feature, not a bug. It's supposed to be like that. But then the source points out it isn't just pronunciation. It's the vocabulary itself.
Yes, the difference between standard English and street talk.
This is a huge one. Because textbooks, they're designed to be timeless. You know, they don't want to print a textbook that feels old in 2 years.
Right, they want it to last a decade. So they teach standard English. It's safe, grammatically perfect, but movies are snapshots of right now. They use slang that might not even be in the dictionary yet.
And Mason tells this great story about this. I think we've all had a moment like this. He was watching a movie, and a character yells, "That's Cap!"
That's Cap!
And poor Mason, he hears cap, C-A-P. So his brain goes to the definition he knows. A hat,
A baseball cap.
a baseball cap. He spends the next 10 minutes scanning the screen, looking for a physical hat, trying to figure out why this hat is so important to the plot.
And meanwhile, the whole plot has moved on. The characters are arguing about something else entirely, and he's playing Where's Waldo with a hat that isn't even there.
Exactly. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's cap is slang for that's a lie. No hat involved.
But that highlights such a critical point. If you rely only on what you learned in a classroom, you're going to be, as the source puts it, out of the loop.
Out of the loop. It means you don't have the latest info.
Right. You didn't get the memo. And language is always changing. And those changes, they usually show up first in pop culture, in movies. So watching them isn't just about grammar. It's about cultural literacy.
So you're not spending 10 minutes looking for a hat while the villain gets away.
Exactly. But wait, there's more. Because if the smushing and the slang weren't enough, Luna and Mason bring up a third factor that is so obvious to anyone who watches movies.
The audio environment itself.
Yes, the mumble effect.
This section made me feel so validated. I complain about this with movies all the time. I'm always grabbing the remote to turn the volume up for dialogue and then way down for the explosions. It's not just me, right?
It is definitely not just you. Native speakers struggle with this constantly. The source points out that sound design in modern films is mixed for huge cinema speakers.
So they want the whispers to be quiet and the explosions to be, well, explosive.
Exactly. They want you to feel the rumble. But when you compress that down to a TV or laptop speakers, the dialogue gets lost. And then you add ambient noise.
The background sounds.
Yeah.
Traffic, wind, music.
Right. A textbook listening exercise is in a silent, soundproof booth, a vacuum. But in a movie, the ambient noise often overpowers the dialogue.
Mason actually asks this in the breakdown. He says, so I'm not crazy. The explosions really are louder than the talking. And Luna confirms it.
It's a relief to know it's a technical hurdle, not just a failure of your own ears. Your brain has to filter out the noise to isolate the speech, which is already hard, then decode the connected speech, then translate the slang.
It's like doing complex math while someone's shouting at you in a nightclub.
That's a terrifyingly accurate analogy.
And then, just to kick you while you're down, they throw in accents.
Oh, the accents. This is where that standard English training really fails you. You get used to a very neutral accent.
And then you watch a movie with a Texas cowboy or a gritty London detective.
And your brain just shuts down. The source mentions this specifically. A British detective and an American cowboy in the same movie. It forces your brain to constantly adjust.
It's like trying to tune an old radio while the car is moving. You get it clear for a second, then it's static again.
That's a great way to put it.
So we have established this is genuinely difficult. It is not just in our heads. We have the smush, the slang, the sound mixing, and the accents. Honestly, hearing it all laid out like that, it's a wonder anyone understands anything.
It is daunting. It really is. But this is where we pivot. Because Luna and Mason, they don't just leave us there. They have the power plan.
Yes, the power plan. Let's spend some real time here because this is the actionable stuff. And the first step really surprised me. It wasn't a technical exercise. It was a mindset shift.
The 60% rule.
Tell me about the 60% rule. Because I'll be honest, as a perfectionist, this hurts a little. I want 100%. If I miss a word, I feel like I failed.
And that is exactly the problem. Luna argues that trying to understand 100% just creates anxiety. And anxiety is the enemy of learning. It shuts down the learning centers of your brain.
You get stuck on that one word.
Exactly. You stop listening to what's coming in because you're mentally replaying the word you missed 3 seconds ago. You spiral.
So the goal isn't perfection.
No, the goal is to understand 60%.
60%, that feels low.
It feels low, but think about it. If you get the gist, if you know what's happening, who's angry, why they're running, that's a win. You are following the story.
That is surprisingly freeing. It really takes the pressure off.
It allows you to relax. And the irony is, when you relax, you actually process language better. You let the context fill in the blanks, which is what native speakers do all the time.
That's a good point. We miss words in our own language, but we figure it out.
Exactly. So step 1, lower the bar to 60%. And then step 2 is the actual workout. They call it the 10-minute rule.
This is a really practical exercise. I love this because it solves movie fatigue. You know, when you sit down for a 2-hour movie in English, and by minute 45, your brain is just melting.
Oh, yeah. It stops being fun. It just feels like work.
So how does the 10-minute rule fix this?
Well, the idea is you don't tackle the whole movie. You just pick a 10-minute segment. And first, you watch it without subtitles.
The brave part.
The brave part. You let your ears work, you struggle, you aim for that 60%. Then right after, you rewatch the same 10 minutes, but this time with English subtitles.
Ah, I see. So the first time is the test, and the second time is the answer key.
Exactly. It frames the movie as a workout for your ears. It connects the sound you heard to the text you know. And you go, oh, that weird noise was the word extraordinary.
That makes so much sense. It's bridging the gap between that puddle of sound and the actual words.
And it trains your brain to predict. The next time you hear that noise, your brain will map it to the word much faster.
And I like how they frame this as a workout. Mason talks about fitting it in as a night owl, doing his 10-minute workout before bed. It feels manageable.
Consistency over intensity. It's way better than binging a movie once a month and understanding nothing.
Okay, there's one more technique in the power plan. If the 10-minute rule is the cardio, this is more like the heavy lifting. They call it shadowing.
Shadowing is a classic technique, but they make it fun. The idea is simple. Take a specific line, rewind it, and say it exactly like the actor.
And when they say exactly, they mean exactly, not just reading the words.
No, you are acting. You copy the emotion, the speed, the pitch, the pauses, and the smush.
Mason has this great moment where he does the classic Terminator line. He goes full dramatic voice, "I'll be back."
And Luna points out that while it's funny, it is also incredibly effective. Her quote is, "When you copy the sound, you learn to hear the sound."
That's a great little nugget. When you copy the sound, you learn to hear the sound. Unpack that. Why does speaking help listening?
It's about muscle memory. When you force your mouth to make those linked, reduced sounds, to say, "What you doing?" instead of "What are you doing?" you're physically internalizing the rhythm.
So you're reverse engineering the smush.
Exactly. If your mouth knows how to make the sound, your ear will recognize it instantly when someone else does. It stops being noise and starts being language.
I love that. It turns the movie into an English gym. You're not just passively eating popcorn. You're actively participating.
And that shift from passive to active is crucial. But there's another element here that I think is important for motivation, because this is hard work. It can feel lonely.
The community aspect.
Right, the subtitle club.
Yes. Luna and Mason talk about the subtitle club, this idea that you aren't the only one. There are thousands of other learners out there whose brains also go blank when the subtitles are off.
There's something really comforting about that. When you're sitting there feeling dumb because you missed a line, it helps to remember that Mason, an expert, also couldn't figure out if the hero was saving the world or looking for car keys.
It normalizes the struggle. It reminds you that this is a hard skill and you're not broken. The task is just hard.
Exactly.
So let's just recap. We started with that feeling of being totally lost, out of the loop. We realized it's because of the smush, that natural connected speech.
And the slang that textbooks don't teach, plus the sound mixing and the accents.
Right. The deck is stacked against us. But then we have the power plan. Stop trying to be perfect. 60% is a win. Use the 10-minute rule to train your ears. And use shadowing to physically practice the sounds.
It's a comprehensive approach. It tackles the psychology, the listening, and the speaking.
And I really like the philosophy that Luna leaves us with. She says, your struggle today is your strength tomorrow.
That's a great perspective. It feels like failure in the moment, but that friction, that's your brain actually building new connections. That's growth.
It's like lifting weights. If it's not heavy, you aren't getting stronger. If you understand everything, you probably aren't learning anything new.
Exactly. You need that resistance.
So as we wrap up, We want to leave you with the same provocative thought that the source material poses. It's really a challenge.
It is the question of the day.
When you sit down to watch your next show, that difficult detective show, that fast-paced action flick, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in the safety of subtitles? Or are you going to go brave, as they say, and turn them off?
It is a scary moment, hitting that off button. Feels like taking the training wheels off a bike. But that's where the real cracking the code begins.
It is. Even if it's just for 10 minutes, give it a try. Test your limits. You might just be surprised at how much you catch when you stop worrying about catching everything.
And hey, if you get lost, you can always rewind. That's the beauty of it.
True. Rewind is your best friend. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Happy watching, everyone!